So there's some problem that people are facing in joining. I received a number of notifications. Hence, just waiting for a little more time. All right, we'll start. Although there's some problem with people joining, I don't know whether the link is working properly or not, but we'll start regardless. So, welcome everybody to the Top 1% Creators Club workshop that we have. Today, we're going to be talking about uh, certain workflows that are relevant to the December month. Uh, that is generally a critical month for both growth teams as well as RevOps teams. We see a lot of preparation going behind, making sure that the Q1 or Q2 of next year is the most, fruitful year of the year, quarters of the year, right? So a lot of CRM cleanup, a lot of, pipeline building for the next quarter happens, especially during this month. Um, just give me 1 second because I'm just getting so many pings for people to share the passcode. Um, Guys, those who have joined, did you face any issue? Because I'm just getting too many pings for it to happen. Anyhow, I'll take this in other ways. Let me just quickly dive through the agenda that we have for today's webinar. And then we will kind of look at uh, the actual workflows or what kind of results these workflows yield. So typically we'll be talking about two things, especially since we are focusing on the bit of CRM cleanup as well as preparing for the next quarter. The first one we'll be talking about is what people often call the gold mine under their nose. That is because there's actually a large number of prospects, especially for a little more mature companies who already lie in your CRM, who are basically people who know the value of your tool, but have moved to new jobs or have moved to new companies, and thus can become new prospects for you. Typically called champion movement. And we've taken a new approach to this, which is a way more cost efficient as well as efficient in terms of the amount of computation that we do. And the second thing that we'll look at is something that I've been asked a lot of times. It's around a pipeline prioritization or the kind of you know it's often called the new age ABM, which is more around in-depth research about every company that we are targeting and how we can then go about doing outbound that is extremely effective, right? Ultimately, if we can cover these in the in time, then we can in the third part also talk about the power of Google search and how we can automate a lot of prospecting using Google search. But yeah, we'll focus on these two aspects first, right? So, when we look at champion movement or uh, contacts in our CRM who have taken up a new responsibility in, let's say, an ICP fit company, what we tend to do is kind of look up every contact that we have in our CRM. And just try to find if their LinkedIn profile has been updated and they have moved to a new, organization or not, right? But that is an extremely inefficient way to do because approximately around 10 to 15% people change jobs only, right? And you're doing if there are 1,000 contacts in our CRM, you're basically going through all 1,000 contacts to find out those 100 or 150 people who have moved. Instead of doing that, This is a new way which is way more efficient. And Aradhya, who is the head of product at NREV, will actually show you what kind of results this yields. But anyone who's familiar with workflows can easily build this out. So instead of looking for each and every contact, what we do is collect all the contacts in the customers or contacts who have already gone through the phase of realizing the value of your tool or service, which is contacts greater than any kind of a CRM stage, the contacts and deals that have gone beyond a certain CRM stage. Then instead of looking or like fetching their new, LinkedIn details every time, what you would want to do is fetch their job titles, which is almost always there in your CRM, right? With those job titles, we then search in those same companies for those job titles. Uh, Basically, if we for us, CRM contacts look mostly like growth marketeers, founders, RevOps people, or head of marketing. We kind of search in those same companies for the job titles we have fetched for all the contacts we had. Then if that job title is not present anymore, that means that that person is not present in that same search because we've searched with their exact job titles. Then that person must have kind of either been promoted or moved to a new company, right? So then we enrich only those people. And typically we see that around 15 to 20% of these people are the ones who do not fall in this search, right? And they are the people who have either moved or have been promoted or in the same company or have moved to a new company, right? Quickly again, just looking at the flow, we don't search for every re-enrich every contact. Instead of that, we fetch their job titles and search the same companies for those job titles. If that person is not present in that search, then they have either been promoted or they have moved to a new company. So in this way, we eliminate like 85% of the LinkedIn live searching. So once we have that, then we kind of enrich those contacts through LinkedIn live scraping, and then we kind of filter their new company if they fall in that if they move to a new company instead of being promoted. Then we kind of do an ICP based filter, and I mean, after that, it kind of goes into a more actionable mode, which kind of finds out all the signals in that company so that we have all the context about what kind of conversations we're going to drive or what kind of outreach we're going to do. Find all context from previous conversations. So wherever we have all our CRM notes in terms of the conversation that we've had with that person, and then we also find out the AE or the BDR who had a relationship with this person and directly push the action items needed to drive the new conversations forward to this A or BDR. So this loop kind of closes all the actionable points to at the right person at the right time with the right information, right? So this is the first workflow that we're talking about. I'll hand it over to Aradhya to show you exactly what it yields and how the workflow looks like.
Hey everyone, am I audible?
Yeah.
Awesome. So, just to firstly build on top of what Shanto mentioned, right? By the way, there are a lot of players who offer stuff like, champion movement or contact movement in general, and especially in today's date, especially in context of where we are in the year, it becomes CRM cleanups and stuff like that become very, very important. That being said, the whole point of just to get before we get into this workflow, as Shanto said, right? Whenever we talk about this flow with anyone, the very first contention we get that is, hey, why can't I simply do it with Clay? Or I don't know, why can't we do it on Anyton and stuff like that? So the whole point of NREV being NREV is that we, rather than, us trying to force use cases on you, NREV is a more generic workflow builder, I would say, where you can, figure out all the nuances you have in one place and build something custom built right off the bat for you. Um, so I'll just share my screen and show you whatever that huge uh, workflow Shanto had shown, how it looks like on NREV. So just to, by the way, the inputs are getting written, but I think till the time we get in, we'll have this. So let's say, I mean, this looks like any other CRM dump, right? Where you have, let's say, the domain name or the domain name or the company name of the account you have, name of the person, title, headline. This is also optional, to be fair, and then the LinkedIn URL. By the way, instead of LinkedIn URL, you can also, I mean, no CRM is clean enough, right? So instead of LinkedIn URL, you can also have just the name or perhaps their email, and yeah, you can build out any kind of flows that are custom built for you, right? So that being said, in this case, we had the LinkedIn URLs. So in this case, we just invoke a Google Sheet read, and as you can see, we have 66 people. But these people were actually originating from 13 companies. So here we have done a very simple people search. Uh, yeah,
हाँ bro.
Go ahead.
uh,
That was just someone
yeah, okay.
muted.
No worries. So as Shayanta said, right? I mean, the idea of having a person who might have moved to an ICP fit company is very fascinating for everyone. But let's be honest, like Ashanto rightly said, not every person moves constantly. So there's no point in running, let's say, an enrichment for all the people all the time, which, yes, you could have done on Clay, but will cost you a ton of money. And given people don't move that often, what we can essentially do is that rather than enriching every person, you can actually just search for the people based on the keywords you have, and then just do a simple match whether whether they're still at the same company or not. So as you can see in this data set, this was a slice of the original data set we had. So the total number of people sliced from 66 to 28, a significant drop, and we can essentially call it that right off the bat, 60% of the costs were saved. Then comes the fun part. Now that we have the LinkedIn URLs of all the people that are relevant to us, I'll just show you like uh, the power of a get person profile. By the way, nref comes directly with inbuilt live LinkedIn scrapers, and don't have to provide any API keys, credentials, and stuff like that. We handle the whole thing for you. So in this case, we try to live scrape a person's LinkedIn profile, and just to show you like what the output looks like. So here we get a ridiculously thorough profile of any person. So we get their first name, last name, their connection and follower counts. Along with that, uh, their entire experiences section with all the possible details, their education and stuff like that. In our case, what's relevant to us is their experiences section. Now, once we actually extracted the LinkedIn profiles, we just performed an AI research, which is doing two things. Uh, Here, as you can see, I just wrote in a very simple prompt. By the way, any kind of a field can be recorded as a variable by typing in at the rate. And here we just mentioned that I have a contact with the name and I gave their domain name, which is there in my data set. And I just tried to verify whether they're still working at the same company or not. And I have referred their experiences section. So if I go here, I can just refer the entire experiences section here in a single prompt. The costing never changes. After that, I even stacked up my research by giving in some broad ICP criteria, whether they fit in my ICP or not. And we selected a decent enough model, declared the kind of columns we need, and enabled web research. So that AI can actually take meaningful decisions with real live data. Once that is done, I figured out that only amongst these 28 people who had moved, only 13 had moved to relevant ICP companies. And I have a perfect list where I get their entire like past information about their past, but then I also get whether they've moved or whether they've moved, yes or no. I get where they're working at. I have extracted both the name and the domain because it comes in handy. What's their current title? When did they join? Whether they're ICP qualified or not, and also a small brief on why it fits under my ICP. Uh, Now, after this, I was just building this out before the call, so the waterfall email enrichment is taking some time. But after this, I can simply dump it into a Google Sheet where all the contacts will be populated with these fields. old company, new company, ICP reason, name, LinkedIn, date moved, current title, and current email as well, so that I can start reaching out to them. The very next step that one might want to do after this is to build out some personalization points. So if anyone has some ideas around how you like to personalize a specific contact, I mean, we can brainstorm and we can try building it out here. Or if you have any questions associated with the flow we have just shown, you can let us know. By the way, this is starting to get written. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, now as you can see, everything is being written right there in the Google Sheet with all the relevant information. But yeah, any kind of personalization cues that you'd like us to showcase, or any questions around whatever we have shown till now?
I think another point is that we typically wouldn't use a Google Sheet to write it. We would typically kind of write it back to our CRMs. But in this case, you can just change that one node of add to a Google Sheet to add to the CRM records that you have, and it would do the same task. Right. And another point that I wanted to mention was how to kind of quantify how efficient this workflow is with respect to, let's say, other available solution providers like a UserGem is like, I think the average cost per contact of tracking how much a champion moved was, last I checked, was somewhere around $8 per contact move. This workflow recently was run on one of our customers with around 8,000 contacts. They found 1,600 new leads, which were all ICP fit, and it cost them only 800 or $600, I think, right? So that was the cost difference, like $600 for 1,600 fresh new leads, with whom you've already spoken once, you sold to once, so they know the value, half sold already, they have used the platform and are comfortable with it. So, I mean, cost-wise, it's extremely efficient. So if there are no questions, and in case there are questions, by the way, just feel free to put it in the chat. We'll take it up and answer it as much as possible. But moving on to the second part, this is a very interesting part where we talk about new age ABM, as we call it. Why new age ABM is because ABM in the past typically focused on first party data. That is, people visiting your website, people interacting with your Google ads or LinkedIn ads, etc. Um, but while that is there, there's also a lot of third-party data that is research about both the person as well as the company that you can do to make your outreach extremely personalized. And Aradhya will actually show you the level of personalization that we tend to do for our outreach, and it's all automated. There are multi-channel approach, so we do LinkedIn and email. We haven't started with cold calling or don't foresee that we'll have to do cold calling at this point in time because these two channels work extremely well. A lot of people have been talking about cold email being dead. But yeah, would be happy to kind of show you how our emails have a more than, I think, 60% open rate. And in most cases, we actually don't track open rates, but even the reply rates are very high. Right. So, I mean, that said, like this is the kind of research that we do, and Radhya will give you a glimpse of our CRM as well. But we have two target personas, the marketing and DevOps. Typically, we do not target founders as much for cold reach outs, but yeah, marketing and DevOps are the two typical teams that we look at. And in those teams, we tend to find out what we call a persona atlas, which is like every person in those teams, when they join, what their entire LinkedIn looks like, what would be a possible hierarchy of those, teams, right? Who reports to whom kind of a structure, everything about that person. And then from the leadership or, marketing and DevOps leadership roles, we try to even find out warm connections. If that is the case, we don't do any cold outbound. We use that warm channel to kind of go in and get through them. And then, of course, these are three persona classifications that we do. The last is basically the hands-on people who would typically build on NREL, right? The second part is the extreme deep research, right? Not only do we know when each person has joined, what the historical hiring trend of that company is, we also know whom they are looking for hiring today. So, like, it goes through the past on how the company evolved over time. right? For us, there's also an importance of the presence of a few key roles. For example, without like a marketing ops or without a growth um, like hands-on persona, typically our tool will not be very self-serve. So we tend to prioritize companies that have these roles. There's social listening to find out. Now, this is the interesting part. So we actually find out a lot about that company's what that company is looking to find information about even before we reach out. So we find out people talking about that company's problem statements in social channels, um, people who are talking about their competitors or people who are trashing their competitors on socials. Um, I mean, which companies are their competitors chasing today as a part of their pipeline? All these are researched even before we set foot into reaching out to anyone in that company. And then we also do all kinds of figuring out all of the LinkedIn posts of all these people as well as their company to find out if there are mentions of any new events they're participating in or any initiatives in RevOps or marketing that they might be kind of going out and doing. Right, so this then all accumulates to give us, email sequences and LinkedIn automation, which are of course automated all over NREV. We are ourselves are probably one of the heaviest users of NREV and set up all kinds of automations on NREV itself. But I'll let Aradhya again show you the kind of personalization that is done and how that would be possible for anyone who would want to set it up. Go ahead, Aradhya.
Perfect. So, just some additional context. This is, by the way, Shanto's baby. So, but the whole point is around building out this flow. Like in our outreach strategy, like every single thing that we try to research is essentially a glimpse into what we can do on NREV's platform. So, whenever we like the whole rationale behind this outreach sequence was to, just sort of do demo runs for each potential customer for different workflows, be it a simple workflow where we're just figuring out their competitors and then figuring out where they're getting sort of trashed or getting the stick on Reddit. It can also be what kind of ICP fit customers are their competitors interacting with or flirting with on LinkedIn. It can be any kind of a any kind of a lead through the hiring pipeline of a company and a lot more. By the way, so just to give you a glimpse around how it starts, uh, yeah, I'll just let me know once my screen is visible.
It's visible.
Yeah. So again, it starts with a very simple Google Sheet where you just mention the day on which an action is supposed to be done. Then there's the type of a task, whether it's an email or whether it's a LinkedIn message or anything like that. Then there's a purpose or a hook, like essentially what exactly do we want to achieve from the email, and then a subject line and a body, right? Because that's the most generic thing for any kind of an outreach. So here we're just trying to. So what the whole intention behind the workflow is that the moment you get a company, you're actually able to figure out who I should be reaching out to and what I should be talking about. So in our case, as we mentioned, there were a bunch of signals that we wanted to execute, and just to give you a glimpse, so like anything and everything that gets executed here also gets written into our CRM. So, for example, in this case, we're looking at Axle data. So, first right off the bat, some stock standard stuff about their product offering because that helps us, curate any kind of a workflow, be it in our demos or in our customer outreach. Their ICP hypothesis, because again, this comes in handy and makes for a lot more meaningful conversations. Then comes the competitor ecosystem. So a custom research is able to actually analyze their entire competitor ecosystem and how they're placed against them. And even, just some kind of an insight from their G2 account, like around what are their weaknesses as compared to Axel data. Once that is done, now comes the fun part. So, like as we were saying, right? Whenever we do outreaches, in our cases, like whatever are our hot selling plays are at the moment oriented more towards giving you leads. So in each, and whenever we are tracking competitor interactions, we are also logging, like in this case, Axel Data's competitor Big Eye is constantly interacting with data mass, and along with that, we are also storing like why it's an ICP fit. Similarly, Monte Carlo is constantly interacting with ZoomInfo. Soda, another competitor, is interacting with this company, and so on. So now, if any competitor is after your ICP company, then we can actually throw them up as the leads for our respective customers, prospects in this case, and uh, do an appropriate outreach. Similarly, if we just go here, then we are also looking at competitor mentions. So like this is, if we just look at this one, so here it's clearly in r/data engineering, which is the go-to channel for this industry. Uh, we are actually quoting like how exactly are people complaining about Monte Carlo along with the relevant URL so that you can refer and perhaps even flex when you're actually on a call with them. And finally, some leads are actually coming from relevant hiring around if any company is actually hiring for the roles that are relevant for Axle data, we can actually make a repository for it. And by the way, while this is working for outreach, this can all these kind of signals obviously can work for us ourselves and give us a lot of insight around how and why we have to reach out to a company. So whatever we are trying to showcase to a customer also happens for us as well. By the way, this is on a company level, but on a person level, I just kept a demo output here. So here, as you can see, this sheet is populated by the same workflow, where for each person, you get a bunch of touch points. You figure out like when did a person join a specific company, what's their title, headline, location, because this helps us, invite them to relevant events as well. And for each after that, we are able to generate sequences with the exact subject lines and bodies. And it also we also generate like the kind of template from this sheet was referred. And finally, the kind of insight or the signal that was referred to generate this email so that we can actually maintain well-structured audits. And obviously, the very next step after this is to simply push this into instantly, which is a single block on Drive.
By the way, Aradhya, we can actually look at some of the emails as well, because that will show you that every email is unique in the sense that so Google today often blocks off that same email being sent off to multiple recipients. Of course, that is something that all of us know. So where AI helps us is adhere to these templates, but be very, very personalized and different in each of our emails, which is why I think our deliverability rate is close to about 90%. Um, and each of these emails are different, and each of them are specific to one of the insights that have been found about that person plus that company. Yeah. So if you look at this, so basically, we are talking about their the ICP that they target or the industries that they target. So we give a quote like, "Oh, where the puck is, Campbell Soup Company is hiring a cloud FinOps engineer, and Cambia Healthcare, Coinbase, etc." Like these are certain insights that have been shared in the email, and every subject is also customized to that insight that we found. So it makes it extremely, extremely personalized to that person. Yeah. So what is Big Eye doing with your accounts today? Kind of brings in an emotion of fear because we are talking about their competitors interacting with your current customers, right? So, yes, this is some of the sample emails that the AI has generated. These are not exactly the template, so it's different for each of the emails. Aradhya, if you could also get a quick overview of what is happening in the workflow, that would also be, I know that the workflow is very complex and there's a lot of things that have gone inside it, but if you could get a quick overview, that would also be nice.
Sure. By the way, a good chunk of this was simply built using an AI builder. So over here, you can always go in and constantly keep on letting the builder know around what you want to build, and it will constantly keep on building and recommend you the best nodes for any kind of an approach. So here, the approach was very simple. We have a Google Sheet with our target accounts, and then right off the bat, we fire a very simple research where for each company, by the way, Axel data is here also. So we figure out what is their product offering, what kind of job titles they usually, what kind of job titles usually belong to their end users, because this will be used for that hiring signal bit. then a broad hypothesis of their ICP, because this comes in handy whenever we are qualifying any lead, some notable customers along with their sources, and then their entire competitor ecosystem, along with some broad criticisms from their G2 sites. Once this is done, the workflow splits out into multiple avenues. So right off the bat, like if we just start from the top, we're trying to figure out like who should we reach out to in the first place. Sorry, that's somewhere else. This is different one. Yeah, just give me a second. This has turned out, yeah, this one. My bad. So we figure out there, like we perform a person search and figure out as many people as we can. And then we're using a very simple AI summarizer, which is creating an outreach list for each of the companies. So once we do that, we actually divide and distribute the people into the kind of personas, their title, headline, etc. So yeah, so every single person, for each person, we figure out whether they're going to be a hands-on person or a leadership person, because that actually not only decides the kind of content we have to reach out with, but it also decides their decision-making power and stuff like that. We get their LinkedIn. We also, in order to make AI accountable, we also ask for a reason for nomination, like why AI chose that this is going to be the right person. On the contrary, if we just go back here, uh, there are a lot of stuff, there's a lot of stuff going on. We actually figure out the competitors, perform Reddit research, then we also get their company profiles from directly from LinkedIn, and initiate a couple of things here. Firstly, we find out like who are the salespeople of these companies, and actually figure out, if you see here, we actually extract their reactions and the comments on LinkedIn. From this, we club them together and enrich the most actively engaged profiles and figure out whether they fit the ICP or not. Sorry. Similarly, if they are mentioned anywhere on Reddit and or LinkedIn, we extract this and oil this. I mean, this looks a lot overwhelming, but you can simply copy this workflow for yourself as well. But ultimately, this boils down to a very simple flow where we actually get this. So each row, by the way, each row is a single person along with their entire research. I'll just expand this. So we get their customer base. I think we have already seen this. Then for each person, we get the entire research, their entire metadata about a person. And finally, if we just go back to the left, we also get the signals for customization. So each signal associated with a company is listed out. And by the way, yes, this might not look very readable, but it's actually meant for AI. That's why it's structured this way. So yeah, so if I just take a copy here and show you what this is about, I'll just paste it here. So yeah, as you can see, it's quite simple. So the cohort of a signal is competitor criticism. Signal type is a relevant thread. Name of the competitor is soda.io. The source URL is actually GitHub in this case. Rationale for nomination is there, like why I felt this is relevant. And then a simple, very simple signal summary and a signal time so that we can actually prioritize and refer it in the actual conversations that AI is actually going to generate ultimately.
Thanks. So that there was, yeah, a lot has gone behind this, but it ultimately gives a very, very, personalized outreach, avenue for us to kind of go into. So that brings us very close to our, finish line. We decided that we would also talk about how we do Reddit scraping or how we do, let's say, Twitter scraping a little bit as well. But I think we are almost up on time. We'll just wait for, open up for 2 more minutes to, if there are any questions by people or any requests, and we'll be happy to kind of go through that. Awesome. So if there aren't any, we will close on the webinar. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending and taking out time for the webinar. drop in a note, or if you have any requests for any of these workflows, we'd be happy to share it with you. These do not need much customization, as Aradhya showed. You can just ask AI to kind of look at some of the workflows that are already created and change them for your company in your context. You can, you won't have to get into the details to kind of do those changes. So, um, yeah. So thank you so much. We'll share these workflows over in case they are of help to you. Let us know. Great. Good night. Have a nice rest of the day.
Right.